The Great Dividing Range is an impressive sight as it snakes the length of our eastern seaboard. It's the source of important rivers and rich land for farming. The Great Dividing Range also connects us with one of the country's great drives. Australia's Countryway is a 1,600 kilometre tourist route from Sydney to Rockhampton. Call me biased, but I think many of its best features are in Queensland. And you can break it down into bite-sized pieces so it doesn't have to be one big adventure. I'm going to spend a few days driving the legs from Warwick to Toowoomba and Toowoomba to Kingaroy, taking the time to head off the main road and meet the locals. My journey certainly begins on a high, 1,100 metres up in the scenic rim, not far from Cunningham's Gap. Spices Peak Lodge is a dream holiday destination that's worth saving your pennies for. It's an all-inclusive luxury mountain retreat without airs and graces. In fact, it has a very homey feel. Guests are encouraged to make themselves comfortable in the main lodge, which is incredibly tempting when there's a roaring fire. But then the scenery draws you outside. When you're taking in this beautiful property, you need to keep your eyes peeled for some of the Peak Lodge touches. I'd probably refer to them more as quirks, like a London telephone box right in the middle of a cow paddock. And I believe, yep, it's right there. You can call, they'll deliver champagne right here. Of all the outdoor activities, I've chosen a drive to Ryan's Lookout with General Manager Simon Magnus. You go from that luxury to this amazing wilderness.
Oh yeah, I mean we're just surrounded with the best bush in the whole of Australia.
I hazard a guess that you get guests that have never been in a four-wheel drive on a rough track before.
It's just such an adventure, especially if you've never experienced the Australian Outback before. Some guests are traumatised, but in a good way. But yeah.
Traumatised in a good way. Depends how fast you take me down the next hill, I might be too.
Exactly, it's like being in a roller coaster.
The property's owned by Jude and Screw Turner of Flight Centre fame. They grew up in this region, so this was a passion project. You get a real sense wandering through here, the remoteness, how hard it must have been to put the property here.
Oh yeah, it was a feat of engineering, absolutely phenomenal. It took 3 years to build, millions and millions of dollars, and we also had to helicopter up a lot of the building materials too.
Then you arrive and look at this.
Yeah, it's crazy. It just opens up and then you've got these incredible views of the scenic rim.
I don't know if I'm more impressed with the view or this lovely spread you've put on, thanks. So how does a Scotsman find himself high on a hill in Queensland?
Well, I've always wanted to be in Australia after watching Neighbours and Home and Away. And all you think of is beaches and desert, but then you arrive in Australia and then there's this amazing hinterland, essentially the Highlands of Scotland, but Australian kind of style.
And this is the salami.
Oh, the truffle salami is intense. It's just...
Seems very naughty, very decadent.
It is very decadent, but very special. Isn't it good?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Food is a huge part of the Peak Lodge experience. Min Lee has been a finalist for Australian Chef of the Year and won awards for his own Brisbane restaurant before taking over this kitchen. It is quite a herb garden, isn't it?
Yes.
Does it get to work out every day?
Yeah, we sprinkle it every day.
The food vision he follows is best of Australia on a plate, be that seafood, meat, Indigenous ingredients or produce from local paddocks. This looks wonderful. Makes me wonder about dinner tonight. So what tempted you up here? Why did you decide to head for the hills?
I think the lifestyle, the philosophy of the company as well, and being able to kind of do expressive food up here. What we're doing here is unique in the sense of what is passionate to me.
While Min creates his tasting menu, guests settle into beautiful lodge suites in the main house or their own private lodge across the pasture. And if you still haven't tired of the view, here you have it all to yourself, either by the two-way fireplace or a private spa. have started at the top, but there is still so much more to see on my journey along Australia's country way. Stay with me after the break. I'm on a road trip along Australia's country way that's taking me through southern Queensland country. I'm doing all the driving myself, so I've planned plenty of stops along the way, including this morning a visit to a little place I've heard all about in Allora. Locals call Allora the best little town on the Downs. I tell you what it does have, the best regional sports museum I've visited. The collection started with a pair of boots from leaguey Brian Phelan, who kicked a monster goal to win a grand final in 1961. Wayne Burnett, Shane Webke and Laura Geitz are more recent superstars from the region to have their memorabilia added to the display. Perry, this is bigger and better than anything I could have ever imagined, and I suppose right now she's the lady of the moment, isn't she, Laura Geitz?
She's lovely, isn't she? Yeah.
Keeps it in, but only for Laura Geitz to pick up.
That's the face of our museum. She's a lovely girl, and she's gone to the top of the tree, and that's just magnificent. Yeah.
So many back-page triumphs are celebrated on these walls, including those of current Olympian and Commonwealth Games track and fielder Matthew Denny.
Some people here have represented the state through different sports, you know.
Something in the water?
I'd like to know. I didn't get it, but...
Do you get people visiting town just to come and see the museum?
Yes, yeah. The locals are laid back, but the visitors here are just always amazed.
Half an hour from Allora is another popular spot on the tourist route. And what's a driving holiday without a stop for a counter lunch? Rudd's Pub pays tribute to author Steele Rudd, who lived here in Nobby. He penned his Dad and Dave stories within the very walls where Sam and Robin Little keep his legend alive. Now, if you're under 40, you need to know that Dad and Dave were a couple of bushies from Snake Gully who were hugely popular back in the time when people used to listen to drama on the radio or the wireless, as it was known back then. And that's why this piece is just so special.
Victoria, it is really, really special. This was donated by a fellow by the name of Todd Bone, who came out on a Sunday for lunch, like many, many people do. This is a first edition Dad and Dave on our selection. Very, very rare. The only other one that we're aware of, or Todd was aware of, is in the archives in Brisbane. And you need the white gloves to go and see that one.
This is much better.
We look at ourselves as caretakers of Australian history, and we want this history to live on forever. People bring their grandkids here and they absolutely love it, and come and show them what they had, what their grandparents had, what they can remember from their childhood.
Back on the highway from Rudd's Pub, it's only about 30 k's to Toowoomba, and out the other side there's some lovely country near Ravensbourne National Park. Cloud Lake Mountain Resort is in a hidden valley on the Great Dividing Range. It's hard to imagine that this was a blank canvas before landscape architect Richard Jones and his wife Rosemary set to work. They built their own home and fabulous gardens before being encouraged to create visitor accommodation.
We've been having guests stay now with us since 2002, and it's been the loveliest experience. I've met some wonderful people.
There are 2 cottages on the lake, and mine is the whimsical boathouse that Richard designed to look like an upturned boat. Tell me about your philosophy of having guests in and what you're hoping to give them as they come to visit you.
In time, we've realised that people really need to get away. They really do need to escape from the busy life that they lead in the city. They arrive here often really quite stressed. And I'm happy to say that by Sunday when they go home, they look terrific.
Rosemary's all about enabling a digital detox, so forget about your phone, Wi-Fi and telly, and make the most of actual views.
The one thing that is missing is a dose of nature, and that's what we can offer them here. When we plan a driving holiday, most of us have a route mapped out and a schedule to keep to.
don't take all the spontaneity out of it, allow yourself some time to stop in a town like Crow's Nest and have a poke around. Because interesting tourist attractions aren't always heavily publicised. For more than a century, this town in the high country north of Toowoomba has bottled its own soft drink. Murray and Alex are keeping the tradition alive. Murray, you are a bit of a rarity these days, aren't you?
Yes, most people of a certain generation would remember the small town soft drink works and cordial factory. A lot of those places died out and we're one of the last remaining.
Times have certainly changed, but your flavours haven't, because you've got a lot of the old-fashioned ones, haven't you?
Yes, we haven't changed any of our recipes. We have introduced one new one since we were here, and that's our musk. Our biggest seller by far is our double sauce.
You've got to support the locals. Across the town square is another Crow's Nest success story. This one brought more than 40 local creative types out of the woodwork. At the Community Arts and Crafts Centre, you can pick up a one-of-a-kind souvenir. Such variety, and I guess it's a really wonderful representation of the community, isn't it?
Oh yes, people that you'd see down the street and you wouldn't believe that they could actually create something like this, and they come in and there it is.
It's not just visitors to town who appreciate that the co-op's open 7 days a week.
I had one man say to me, it was really great because on Sunday morning I woke up and I realised I'd forgotten my wife's birthday. So he said, I'll just go down the shop and get a paper, dear. And came in and bought his wife a present, so that got him off the hook.
One final tip about shopping in Crow's Nest. Carol Pearce from Chic Shoes has customers who travel from the coast because her care in fitting shoes goes above and beyond. And I love the sign over the back room. Your husband called and he said, go ahead, buy whatever you want. I need to take that sign home. The New England Highway leads out of Crow's Nest and descends into the South Burnett. Along the way, there's a national park called the Palms that qualifies as a hidden gem. It's a good excuse to stretch your legs. This has been quite a find, I have to say, not only because of the change in scenery, it's so interesting, but also it's a scorcher, about 37 degrees out there. In here, I'm absolutely sure it's 10 degrees cooler. But if you're not batty about bats, then I'd give this stop a miss, because as you can hear, they've made a home here. My home away from home for the evening is north along Australia's Country Way, with a short diversion to the town of Blackbutt. Julie Taylor-Dixon's Wakiri B&B Retreat is an oasis in its own right that's walking distance from the main street. What's really lovely is the place has grown with you over time, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, we started out bare block, built the house and the first 2-bedroom guest accommodation. Then in 2011, we decided to build the cottage.
What were you thinking about along the way?
We designed the cottage very open plan because I think that's just really nice. It gives a really holiday vibe. We positioned it and faced it so that we could maximise just solar heating and better cooling. And of course all the louvers we put in there because it's just wonderful to open them up, not just for the breeze, but to be able to then just look out down to the creek and enjoy the view.
Julie's a nutritionist, so her breakfasts are tasty and good for you. Her happy hens provide the eggs. I can tell this is not a job for you, it's a way of life, isn't it?
It's a way of life. I just love it. Always been a dream and a passion, and it's just been perfect. And I love people.
There's a tourist attraction on Australia's Country Way at Yarraman that most locals don't know about. Kerry Wyville has transformed a South Burnett forestry office into his private museum. Oh, this is an impressive room, Kerry. Look at that sea of blue. 3 rooms are devoted to a collection he began in the mid-60s, when castor oil bottles were worth quite a bit to gem collectors trying to pass the glass off as sapphires. So it started as a way to make some money, but then, of course, it obviously grew into a great passion.
Yeah, well, look, There's so many beautiful bottles out there, and when you started digging, you said, God, this one's nice, you know, that one's nice, so you started collecting.
Every bottle has a story that Kerry is happy to share.
Most of your poison bottles are blue. They put ribs on them so that you can feel in the dark.
And his love affair isn't confined to glassware. Every door along the corridor opens to a world from days gone by. Grocery store shelves are packed with lots of familiar old brands. The Woolies of the past. And plenty of products that take a bit of explaining. Tell me about this one.
Well, actually, that's quite an ingenious invention, that. Put it up to your nose. Yeah, so, yeah, no, it's a fantastic little piece of instrument.
I never would have picked it. Kerry, I just think it's so important what you're doing. You're not just preserving our history, but ensuring that people understand what's gone before.
Oh, that's right. Look, everything today is throwaway. And there's going to be nothing that you can keep. You know, if you can get 12 months out of them, you're doing well.
There's a strong connection to the past in these parts. Nanango has a collectibles come saddlery store in a building that's been a landmark on the highway for more than a century. G'day!
Hello, how are
Hey,
you?
Tony, how are you?
Good, thanks, Vicky.
Hey, that's Vicky. Hello. How you doing?
Good.
I'm guessing this corner has seen a lot over the years.
Yes, it certainly has. It was when it was originally built, it used to have hitching rails and water troughs for the bullock carts used to come in here for logs and all the horsemen. So it was like the old West. It was like the old days.
Nanango was quite a trading post, wasn't it?
Yeah, timber. Same as Blackbutt and Yarraman, a lot of it was timber and dairy farming in this area.
A couple of decades ago, the South Burnett diversified into winemaking, and signs for vineyards pop up on the drive towards Kingaroy. Simon Berry is a second-generation winemaker who runs Kingsley Grove Estate with his wife Jo. The start of the year is their pointy end of the season. Ooh. Now that is an amazing colour, Simon.
It's been a very good year for Cabernet this year, actually.
How much is in here?
That's about 1,000 kilos of must, but there should be at least a good 750 litres of wine coming out of that.
Ooh, that's a fair drink.
Yeah, it's about 1,000 bottles. That'll keep us busy for a while.
Ooh, that's good. This is where the magic happens, with wines at different stages, including a sparkling created using a traditional bottle fermentation method.
So every day I do my old quarter turn and taps. And what that does is that helps that sediment just settle down into the neck of the bottle, ready to come out. So as you can see, that's lovely and clear, so that one's pretty much ready to go. This one is actually a sparkling rosé that we're making for one of our friends down the road. And that's from Shiraz grapes, but pressed straight off, just to get a little bit of colour pick up, so it's that lovely pink blush colour.
You're a good friend to have. We're making this one for our friend down the road. A little further down the road is the district's original winery. Bernie Cooper's Crane Wines is another boutique operation with some pretty fabulous views over the vines. And how have the wines in the region improved over time, do you think?
And the first thing is as the grapes get older, they improve, so that's a given. Second thing is that there's now a lot of professional winemakers in the area, so I guess when regions start, some people are running by the seat of their pants, and then we bring in professional winemakers, and of course that has to have an effect as well.
And of course the wonderful thing is when you come to visit you don't necessarily have to leave because you've got a whole lot more on offer than just wines.
Absolutely, well we've got a B&B.
There are 2 bedrooms in the self-contained guest wing of Bernie's colonial home. They're styled in period furniture to give you a sense of the buildings and the area's heritage. I can tell there is a real sense of pride about what's going on in this region.
Absolutely. I think you've got lots of great boutique wineries in the area, all family run, and the scenery is gorgeous. It is just a nice place to live and bring up your children.
There are so many interesting stories and countless destinations along this and other sections of Australia's Country Way. Visit our website to design your touring holiday and find links to all the places that we visited on today's show. Queensland.com and the Queensland Rail travel websites are also worth a look. Keep up with our travels on Facebook and Instagram. And remember to share your holiday snaps at Queensland Weekender for your chance to pop up on the show. We love a good snap. I really like this idea. Crane Wines can provide a barbecue pack to help yourself cater, which is wonderful. You don't have to drive back into town, which clearly I won't be doing. Thank you so much for joining me on the trip. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I'm already planning my next leg of Australia's country way. Bye-bye.